a suggestion as to how we should share our internet interventions with the world. I'm going to be talking today about the progression of work we've done with the smoking cessation site at San Francisco. My co-authors are Adriana Aguilera, Steven Schuller, who's here today, and Jan Lakin. And what we have done is morph the San Francisco Stop Smoking site from a randomized trial to a worldwide smoking cessation resource. So the key points is how to go from RCTs to studies open to anyone, how do quit rates in participant preference trials compare to those in RCTs, our experiences in morphing this site, and recommendations that internet researchers should actively plan to proceed from RCTs to free access, evidence-based internet interventions that can blanket the world. So, in general, our progression of evidence-based interventions is from face-to-face randomized controlled trials, then adapting them to internet or mobile interventions. Then you do RCTs with cohort maintenance to reduce attrition, then fully automated RCTs, participant preference trials, and eventually open sites available to everybody in the world. In our case, we began our work on smoking cessation as part of Sharon Hall's Maintaining Non-Smoking Research Program. She is a PI on the set of studies. We've done a number of studies comparing, for example, CBT versus pharmacological interventions and combinations of them. And currently we're doing studies on brief and extended interventions. These are face-to-face trials, traditional randomized trials. Then I started working with Eliseo Perez Stable, who is a general practitioner interested in smoking cessation. He had gotten a grant from the National Cancer Institute to do an RCT with Spanish-speaking smokers doing group smoking cessation. But nobody came to the groups. And rather than turning the money back, we decided to change the RCT to using printed matter, a brochure, a smoking cessation brochure in Spanish. And what we did is we compared this guide, this visual guide, at 3 and 6 months, and we got about 10% quit rates at 3 and 6 months. And when we added to the guide the mood management intervention, the CBT mood management intervention, we were able to double the quit rates. This was done entirely through the mail. There was no contact, face-to-face contact with people. And I thought, if we can do this through the mail, what if we did this through the internet? This is in the middle of the 1990s. And so I wrote a grant in '97. And in 1998, we got our first grant to do a smoking cessation trial over the internet. We launched this in 2000. And in the last 11 years, we've done several randomized trials, and now we've just finished a participant preference trial. Initially, it was intended only for Spanish and English speakers in California. The source of funding was just for California. But of course, once we opened up the website, people came from all over the country and all over the world. So we've been kind of learning by trial and error that this happens, and why not take advantage of it? And in 2003, we got a grant from Google that allows us to put up sponsored links on the search engine at no cost to us. We've gotten about $700,000 worth of free ads, basically, over the last 11 years. Now, one of the issues with web interventions is effective compared to what, right? If you're trying to get close to 100% effectiveness in quit rates, I mean, that's totally unrealistic, right? Compared to what? So we looked at the literature, and the nicotine patch yields about 14 to 22% at 6 months. A placebo patch about 4 to 8%. So the patch is better than placebo, but it's not 100% or anywhere near it. Smoking cessation groups, again, you get about 24 to 27% quit rate. So we figured that an internet site that did about that would be a reasonable goal to have. And in our first published report, we found that one of our conditions got up to 26% using the missing equals smoking convention, which means that if we're missing data at follow-up, we assume the person is still smoking. So it's a conservative estimate. And then in our second report published in 2009, we found 12-month quit rates of 21% for English speakers and 20% for Spanish speakers. So we feel we're within a reasonable area for effectiveness. Okay? In our latest randomized controlled trial, it had 4 arms. The smoking cessation guide that we tested in the surface mail intervention I mentioned earlier. Then we added to that email reminders, and then we added to that a mood management course, a CBT mood management course, and the fourth condition had all of that, plus a virtual group, an asynchronous bulletin board. And we were expecting that the mood management condition, as we had before would be significantly better than those that didn't have the mood management condition. In fact, we did not find that there was no difference across the groups. Now, in that study, we had money to follow up 1,000 people. In case they didn't respond online, we called them on the phone. This was done worldwide, so we were calling people in India. And you can't call people in India during daytime in San Francisco, right? So it was very time-consuming to do this. But we could do this for 1,000 people. When that ended, we decided, why not just leave the site up and keep on doing the randomized trial? Now, without follow-up, without cohort maintenance. We didn't want to close down the site. It was getting about 20% of the people were quitting. Why close down the site? So we decided to open it to all after, well, we did this, we recruited 16,000 more people for the randomized trial. And then we decided, why not just make it a participant preference trial? Just give people a choice as to what they wanted to use. Removed all eligibility criteria except they had to be 18 years of age in order to sign consent. But that was it, and they had to have email because we had to give them the password to get in with the email. But anyway, so that's what we have been doing for the last 2.5 years. We've had over 200,000 people come to the site during this time, and about 36,000 were eligible to participate, and about half of them signed consent. So signing consent is actually a big hoop. Many people will not sign consent. And so that's something we need to be thinking about. And we're continuing to do follow-up. We have 1,500 people right now at 12 months, and we're still doing data collection. In terms of the elements chosen, you can have an idea here of the Spanish and English speakers in terms of how many chose which of the elements. The Stop Smoking Guide, the most popular one, 88% for both languages. But you can see, for example, that the mood management online course, Spanish speakers are more likely to choose that. The virtual group, only about half of the Spanish speakers chose that, as opposed to 65% of the English speakers. We thought it would be the opposite. We thought Spanish speakers would want more support, social support, but you know, the data don't indicate that. Anyway, this gives you an idea of the kinds of things people would choose if they're given free access to all. And then, in terms of the quit rates, I've already mentioned that using the intent to treat missing equals smoking, we got 20 and 21% quit rates at 12 months. These are the observed quit rates. These are quit rates based on the data that we have available. So the number who say they've quit over the total number of people whom we have data for. And you can see we're getting about 30% using observed quit rates with the cohort maintenance. We were able to reach about 70% of the people at 12 months when we did cohort maintenance. When we went ahead and did a fully automated RCT with no cohort maintenance, no phone calls if they didn't respond online, we're getting about 41% quit rates at 12 months. And if you look at the condition that has all of the elements, condition 4, we're getting about the same. So it's a little higher, 43.7%. I think we're going to get actual significance, but that's because it's such a big sample here. And so then when we open up the participant preference trial, we're getting now about 45% quit rates at 12 months, based only on the people who answer. But as everybody knows, you know, Gunther's law of attrition paper and Helen and Kathy's response to that paper and so on. The missing data is so high. We're only getting about 40% at 1 month, answering about 20% at 12 months. So it's hard to interpret those data. But what you're doing is you're making it available to anybody who wants it. And again, of those who give you data, you're getting about 45% saying they've quit. So the next steps are how to maintain the site as a service to all smokers. For example, we require consent in order to be able to gather data so we can tell how it's going. But if we don't require consent, then anybody can get into it, right? So that would be good. But then you wouldn't know how the site is operating. It's a dilemma. Sustainability, how to keep the site operating, updated, integrated with new technology. For example, we'd love to have text messaging entry of number of cigarettes smoked. But that means you have to reprogram the site to do that. And then mining large data sets to guide future work. I mean, there's tons of data here that we've had over the last 11 years, and just analyzing it is a tremendous amount of effort. Expanding to other languages, we now have Janice So, a colleague of mine at UC San Francisco, just got a grant to translate the site to Chinese, so we're working on that right now. So this idea of blanketing the world I mentioned yesterday. These are the, when we began, we were focusing primarily in the US. But as you can see, it's getting darker and darker. Okay, the darker countries mean the more people who are coming to our site. And this is something that we have been learning from. I mean, this happens without us doing anything other than having the site up. It is an amazing thing. And this is what I was talking about yesterday. If we could do this with anxiety, with depression, with insomnia, you know, all the things that our members have been doing, imagine the good we could do. We could have a little blanket for people with alcohol problems, and a little blanket for people with depression. Yeah, you get the idea. Okay, so that's the idea. How to blanket the world with these internet interventions to reduce human suffering. I think that's what we're about. So thank you.